This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit Progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
When you think boots, you think Ariat. You think comfort from day one and durability to day 1,000. You think steel toes on the job, square toes on the dance floor. With style that owns a Saturday night and still looks sharp enough for Sunday dinner. And through every mile and every moment, you're thinking Ariat boots. Boots that show up, stand out, turn bad ideas into better stories, and still punch the clock come Monday morning. Now, it's time to stop thinking and start shopping. Find your Ariat boots at Ariat.com or a retailer near you.
The London games are officially in the books as the Rams sign off in some style against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Quarterback Matthew Stafford setting an NFL international games record in London as he throws for 5 touchdowns as the Rams easily handle the Jacksonville Jaguars. Back in the States, the New York Giants defy a Graves on Gridiron pick from Week 7, but then unbelievably crumble in a sensational fourth quarter up there in Denver as they throw away a 26-8 lead with less than 6 minutes to play to end up losing 33-32. And is it time to believe in the Indianapolis Colts? At 6-1, they stand alone on top of the pile with the best record in the National Football League, and they boast the league's #1 ranked scoring offense. We'll answer that question and more as we turn the page and look ahead to Week 8 in the NFL.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Hello, welcome along to the show. This is Graves on Gridiron. I'm your host, Richard Graves. And yes, you heard me right. We were one game away from having a perfect 3-0 record in our picks in Week 7 against the line. That one game, unbelievably, for perhaps the first time this season, the New York Giants have been a banker on this show. They weren't in Week 7. I said, look at who they're going up against. They're going to Mile High to play in Denver against one of the best defensive units in the NFL. There's no way Jackson Dart will throw for 171 yards. Well, he had that by halftime, I think, pretty much on Sunday. As for 3 quarters, the New York Giants absolutely owned the Denver Broncos. And then it all went wrong in the fourth quarter, having been 19-0 up and 26-8. You had to see it to believe it. And if you haven't watched the fourth quarter of that game in Denver from last Sunday, promise me, if you're an NFL fan, I promise you rather, you will not regret it. Find it, go and watch it. It is as good as the National Football League gets. Now, admittedly, if you're a New York Giants fan, you might have a slightly different take on that. But I will tell you, as an NFL fan, it was sensational viewing, unbelievable viewing at times. It had drama, it had tension, it had excitement. You had bobbled passes that deflected into the hands of other receivers that would take for touchdowns. You had interceptions. You had a lead changing hands going back and forth. And ultimately, you had a kick that won the game as time expired. What does it mean? Well, it means that the Denver Broncos win back-to-back games, having won previously, of course, the week before at Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in London. Their record now improves to 5-2 on the season. The Giants fall to 2-5. But as we look ahead to Week 8, we're once again going to start with the New York Giants. I hear groans once more from Giants fans, but hear me out on this. Stick with me, because it's a titanic clash. They're going into the city of brotherly love to face the reigning Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles, the same team that just 3 weeks ago they shocked in a stunning upset win on Thursday Night Football back at MetLife Stadium. And they didn't just shock and upset them. They handled them on the night, winning 34-17. And it really gave credence to the questions that had been bubbling just under the surface around this Eagles team for a few weeks this season now. Were they really as good as their record suggested? Well, that was the second of back-to-back defeats for the Eagles. They went up to Minnesota, played this past weekend, and managed to come out on top, ultimately 28-22. But that was no walk in the park for them either. So I'm looking forward to this battle. You start the game with the Eagles' home field advantage, 7-point favorites You might initially look at that line and think, well, why wouldn't they be? Well, I'm going to tell you why they shouldn't be 7-point favourites now, because you've got the rookie duo of Jackson Dart at quarterback, Cam Scadaboo at running back for the New York Giants. And frankly, the Philadelphia Eagles had no answer at all for this combination when they met 3 weeks ago. Cam Scadaboo had 3 touchdowns on the night. Jackson Dart, he looked precise. He looked in control, and he didn't look flustered. The occasion wasn't too big for him, and he got a landmark win for him and the Giants. Can they back it up? Can they go back-to-back against the Philadelphia Eagles? Well, we're about to find out, because this is a big test for this rookie pair. They're coming off the heartbreak, obviously, of the game in Denver, which I've just told you about from last week. How do you bounce back is the question, especially when you look across the field and you've got Jalen Hurts playing at quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. He dropped some dimes in that win against the Vikings. Outside the numbers, the deep ball, he was exceptional against the Vikings secondary last Sunday. And the 2 wide receivers for the first time this season for the Eagles had days. Devontae Smith finished with 9 catches for 183 yards and 1 touchdown. A.J. Brown came up big in the closing drives. He finished with 4 receptions for 121 yards on the day. But I'm about to tell you that game once again highlighted for me the fact that on defense, this team isn't clicking, it isn't firing, and it is struggling somewhat in getting to the quarterback, rushing the passer. And that is why I've got no doubt at all, in the light of Zadarius Smith's recent retirement announcement, we're now seeing Brandon Graham, the 2-time Super Bowl winning pass rusher, come out of retirement this week and announce he's returning to this Eagles team. This is welcome news for Philly. He's an experienced veteran. He has the skins on the wall. He has respect in that locker room, and he brings a toughness, a physicality, and leadership qualities that I think this group badly needs at the moment. But again, I'm about to point out to you that last weekend, this New York Giants team went on the road to the rarefied altitude air of Mile High Stadium in Vestec Field in Denver against the number 1 ranked team in sacks that was owned by the Denver Broncos. They went into that game through 6 weeks with 30 sacks on the board. And Jackson Dart, Cam Scadaboo and co, short-handed, I might add as well. There's no Slayton, no Malik Neighbors at wide receiver. Wan'Dale Robinson was the only recognized receiver they had on the field. And yet for 3 quarters, they played really well. They were outstanding. Bo Nix struggled on offense for the Broncos. The pass rush never really got home against Jackson Dart. The offensive line for the Giants played well. And you look at the last 4 games that Jackson Dart's played now, the record is 2-2 through those games. It really should be 3-1 through those 4 games, whilst Jackson Dart's been starting at quarterback for the New York Giants. The Eagles come into this game, well, yeah, they'll be buoyed by getting their first win in 3, but it's a first win in 3. They still have plenty to prove. They may well win this game. They're at home. It will be the usual fevered atmosphere, but NFC East battles, tough, drag out, knock down, grinded out affairs. And you look at this line with the Eagles as 7-point favorites, I just don't see it. There's a big gap that they need to make up from 3 weeks ago when they were, let's not dress it up, they were humiliated by the New York Giants. So they've got a point to prove. But this Giants defense is a useful unit. They're confident. They will have had it knocked, obviously, last week, because that's a gut-wrenching way to lose a game. You think you'll walk out of Denver feeling that you've lost the game rather than Denver have won it. But I like what I see from the Giants. I think there's reason for optimism now with Big Blue in New York. And I think that they'll bounce back and put on another performance this week. Will they win? I'm not so sure. Will this gap be 7 points or fewer? You better believe it. So for the first time this season, I'm turning around to you on this podcast and saying the line has the New York Giants as 7-point underdogs going into the city of brotherly love. We're taking the New York Giants to cover at +7. We're on the Jackson Dart bandwagon. We're riding Cam Scadaboo out of the running back position. The Giants will cover this spread at +7. Okay, 2 more games to go. We've taken the Giants to go at +7. Who have we got next? Join me shortly on Graves on Gridiron.
Graves on Gridiron with Richard Graves.
Welcome back to Graves on Gridiron. I've got no doubt New York Giants fans are still backing up this podcast because they can't believe their ears. For the first time this season, I'm riding the Jackson Dart train. We're riding the coattails of Cam Scadaboo. We're backing the New York Giants to cover the +7 spread when they go to Philadelphia in Week 8. Okay, next up, we have the 3-3 Atlanta Falcons hosting the lowly, disheveled 1-6 Miami Dolphins. No surprise here, the Falcons start this game as 1-score favourites. The 7-point favourites on the line. There's much uncertainty, it has to be said, hanging over the Falcons this week in the wake of a disappointing road loss to the injury-riddled San Francisco 49ers in Week 7. And plenty of talk about inconsistency. Inconsistency in the play of the team, inconsistency in the performances shown by second-year quarterback Michael Penix, who also limped out of that defeat in San Francisco with an injury. We're told it's a bone bruise. I think the signs are pretty good that he will be able to suit up this week. If not, Kirk Cousins, with his veteran experience, will be ready to go. I don't think that's so much of a concern as exactly what I'm certain and uncertain of going into this game. Well, let me tell you this much. The only thing I'm genuinely uncertain about is just how bad will the Miami Dolphins be this week. They were blown out 31-6 last weekend to a Cleveland Browns team that started with veteran Joe Flacco under center at quarterback. They traded him out, sent him to division rivals, the Cincinnati Bengals, because their offensive production had been so bad. They bring in Dylan Gabriel, and he leads this team to a 31-6 blowout win over the Miami Dolphins, who, okay, they had a point to prove after last year. But everybody expects them to be better than what we've seen this year. It's not just the 1-6 record, it's the manner in which this Dolphins team have been losing games. They have no pass rush. They're dead last when it comes to defending the run. That is going to be key for me in this game, the run game on Sunday in this matchup. No doubt about it, Michael Penix Jr. is a better quarterback when he has a clean pocket. His best friend is stunning stud running back Bijan Robinson. The 4th-ranked run game in the NFL is owned by the Atlanta Falcons. And you look at the way they've played this season. They've only played 3 games so far at home. Their record, on the face of it, is nothing special. It's a 2-1 record, having lost on the opening weekend to division rivals, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, by 23 points to 20 in a close game. And remember, the last time this Falcons team went on the road prior to last weekend, yes, they lost to the 49ers last weekend. They were humiliated, shut out, 30-0 defeat on the road in Carolina a month back. What happened? They returned home the following 2 weeks. They put 34 on the board against the Washington Commanders. They followed that up with a huge win over the much fancied, much vaunted Buffalo Bills. And now look who's coming into town. A Dolphins team who lack cohesion. They look disjointed. We hear there's been players-only meetings, but then quarterback Tua Tagovailoa tells us that players are either turning up late to these players-only meetings or some of them aren't bothering to turn up at all. They lose 31-6 against a toothless Cleveland Browns offense. This is a team that's bottom 10 in all offensive categories. The Miami Dolphins, the team that was rewriting history books just a couple of years back, bottom 10 in passing, in rushing, in scoring points. On defense, they're 29th in points allowed. They're giving up nearly 30 points a game. They're 30th in takeaways. They're dead last when it comes to stopping the run. They're 26th overall. And now you're telling me you're facing a team that has a 2-headed monster in Bijan Robinson and Tyler Algiers in the backfield? Look, I like what the Atlanta Falcons do at home. They may be inconsistent. Their road performances may be less than desirable this season. At home, though, they've been good. They had a narrow defeat to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, who we all now accept are a contender. They're a good team this year. They blow out the Washington Commanders. They stun the Buffalo Bills, all in Atlanta, all at the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. Well, now the Miami Dolphins are coming on the road, 1-6. We've seen them be humiliated on the road already this season, and I think this Falcons team have a point to prove. They're in their house. They'll be feeling the juice. They win this game, and they win it handily. This is a no-brainer. Take the Atlanta Falcons to cover at -7. Okay, we finish up Week 8 with an AFC South game. And it's the question I answered right at the top of this week's podcast. Are the Indianapolis Colts for real? At 6-1, it's the standout best record in the National Football League this season. And who do they face? Where they go on the road to face the team that doesn't have the worst record. But you better believe me when I tell you they're right up there with the worst team in the NFL this season. The Tennessee Titans have a 1-6 record, that one win coming in surreal circumstances against the Arizona Cardinals, when I'm pretty sure you can watch this game for another 100 years and you won't see the same set of circumstances come about as came around on that meeting that led to the Titans getting that one win this season. I think it's time to say yes for the Indianapolis Colts. Yes, they are for real. Daniel Jones, with all his doubters, allowed to walk out the door by the New York Giants. Well, he's looked superb this season. He won the battle to be the starting quarterback in preseason training camp, and now through 7 games, we are seeing why. Jonathan Taylor, some people thought he was washed up and had too many injuries. Well, I'll tell you, he's playing at an MVP caliber level running the football at the moment this season. And then there's the rookie tight end, Tyler Warren, who's living up to all the hype and making a difference, making plays on offense. The only team this Colts side have lost to this season was a game that they could have won on the road to the Los Angeles Rams. They have wins over the Denver Broncos. They have wins over the LA Chargers. 2 teams with winning records. And I think we'd all agree, 2 teams that we think are better than good. In the Broncos, certainly, I told you at the start of the season, they're Super Bowl contenders for me. I've taken them to win it all this year, and I stand by that. But this Colts team, they beat them. Yes, they had a little bit of good fortune at the end, but it's not the good fortune you have, it's what you do with it, and they turned it into a W. And then there's the teams with losing records that they've faced. These are teams they've absolutely destroyed. The Miami Dolphins, the Tennessee Titans, already they've met once this season. The Las Vegas Raiders, the Arizona Cardinals. In those 4 games, they put 33 points on the board, 41 points on the board, 40 on the board, 31 on the board, respectively. Now, fine, people will turn around and say, well, that win over the Arizona Cardinals, there was only 4 points in it. It was 31-27. It was a game that the Indianapolis Colts had in hand long before the finish. Do not be fooled by that 4-point winning margin. And then you look at the bare facts. On offense, this is a team that's number 1 in points scored. They're scoring 33 points a game. They're number 2 in total yards, 5 in passing, 7th in rushing. Defensively, this is what you call complementary football. 2nd in the league in sacks through 7 weeks this season. 3rd in interceptions. 6th in defending the run. 9th in points allowed. They're only giving up 20 points a game. And then you look at this Tennessee Titans team. 1-6 is their record. They've already passed ways with head coach Brian Callahan. And it's a team that, frankly, doesn't look after the ball. Rookie quarterback Cam Ward has had issues both fumbling and giving up interceptions. And then this week we hear a report saying, look, everyone on this roster, bar Cam Ward and Jeffrey Simmons on defense, everyone else is up for trade discussions and negotiations if anybody else in the league is interested. Pick up the phone, come and talk to us. We're prepared to listen. This is a Titans team that haven't given up fewer than 20 points in any game this season. And in their 3 home outings, they gave up 33 to the Rams, 31 to New England, and then 41 in their Week 3 showdown with this week's opponents, the Indianapolis Colts. And now they've got to go to Indianapolis. Are you kidding me? The Colts at home, having already put 41 on the board against this opponent 4 weeks ago, now gets to host you. You've lost your head coach. You're telling everybody that You feel you're in a rebuild mode because you're willing to listen to trades, and you're expected to go on the road to the best team in football right now and close this gap. The Colts are big favourites. They're 14-point favourites, but they're at home. They've already handled this opponent this season, and it's an opponent which frankly can't get out of its own way right now. Yes, the Colts are going to win. They will sweep the Tennessee Titans this weekend, and they'll do it in style. They'll cover the 14 points handily. Take the Indianapolis Colts at -14. Okay, let's recap the 3 games from the Week 8 slate then. For the first time this season, we're riding the Giants train. 7-point dogs on the road to the Philadelphia Eagles. Take the Giants to cover at +7. Then it's on to Atlanta as the Falcons host the Miami Dolphins. The Falcons looking for a bounce-back game. They've been good. They've been very good when playing at home this season. And the Miami Dolphins have been very bad. Take the Colts to cover at -7 before we finish up with the best team by record in the NFL this season through 7 weeks, the Indianapolis Colts hosting the bedraggled, lowly Tennessee Titans with their 1-6 record. The Colts are huge, 14-point favourites. It's no problem for this team, though, this season. They'll cover at +14. Remember, if you have any opinions, if you want to discuss any burning issues through the first 7 weeks going into the Week 8 matchups, hit me up on social media. At Richard Graves 1 on X, RDG Media UK on Instagram, Facebook page as well, Richard Graves RDG Media UK. Any way you want to do it, hit me up. Only too happy to talk about ball. And as I always point out, this is about having fun. We had plenty of entertainment on the field in Week 7. There'll be plenty more to come this week. This is aimed at complementing that. We have a 9-11-1 record heading into Week 8. We had another winning record against the Line 2-1 last week. It's time to get that overall record up at the 500 mark and kick on as we near the midway point of the regular season. Will we do it this week? We're about to find out. Week 8 is around the corner, folks. I, for one, can't wait. Let's see what it has in store. So long, everybody.
Subscribe to Graves on Gridiron wherever you listen to podcasts.
And keep up to date with the latest on Twitter. Search for Richard Graves 1.
That's Richard Graves, the number 1.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.